Hey guys, Grandy Tamayas here, and today I'm going to be giving my preconceptions and later my first thoughts on Transformers 1. First, I do want to say that this preconceptions portion will not be nearly as long as the one I did for Rise of the Beasts for two key reasons. One, I had already given most of my history with the Transformers franchise in that video, so I recommend watching that if you're really curious and want to know my stances on the various aspects of the Transformers mythos. Two, I don't have as much to say about what the marketing of TF1 has revealed so far compared to what Rise of the Beasts did. In a previous video, I expressed my disinterest with the choice of name for this film and called its first trailer mid, which is a term that I don't like to use often. I thought the second trailer was better, but it didn't instill me with much confidence, even after hearing about the very positive reception from the early test screenings of the film. Needless to say, I'm going in with pretty low expectations. That may seem kinda negative and defeats the purpose of me wanting to make this video, especially since I didn't do trailer reactions or any pre-release theories for it. But if someone asked me to make this video specifically, I still would have done it, because it seems like I have every reason to like what this film is offering, even though I don't yet, if that makes any sense. If you have been following me since last year, you would know that I am a huge fan of Transformers Prime. Heck, my series retrospective on it has become the most popular video on my channel to date. And I apologize that it has been almost a year since I made that video, and I still haven't done a Cybertronian biology video, but I'll get to that, hopefully by the end of the year. Anyway, the reason I bring up TF Prime is because this movie takes a lot of inspiration from that show and the greater aligned continuity that it was a part of. The animation aesthetic and character designs look very similar to Prime, except with them having noses. Characters like Arachnid and the Viacon Troopers appear with very faithful redesigns, the backstory of Optimus and Megatron having been friends is similar, and the same composer, Brian Tyler, is doing the score for this movie. That last one I find especially interesting because the score for Prime was probably the most well-artistically crafted thing about that show. I forgot to talk about it in my retrospective, but I love how the opening theme is so majestic and dramatic, and it's unique to that show, instead of being another rendition of the G1 theme song. Now, I haven't listened to the full score of Transformers 1 yet, so I can't make any comparisons about that right now, but I will be fair when I judge it. So yeah, all of those aspects appear like this is going to be Transformers Prime, the movie. But somehow, that's not enough to make me excited. Transformers Prime was lightning in a bottle. I doubt that anything could recapture that magic, even if the original show were to be revived with most of the key staff and forgetting robots in disguise, I'd still be apprehensive. As far as new stuff that Transformers 1 is bringing, I'm not sure if this is the first piece of Transformers media to depict, or at least emphasize, that Cybertron has layers, considering that they talk about going to the surface. Which is apparently full of Cybertronian wildlife and Quintessons. I don't know if this one in the trailer is just visiting Cybertron or if they've always been on the surface. I guess it would make sense with how Cybertronians like Optimus and Megatron, or rather Orion Pax and D16, are forced to be worker bots underground. At least for Megatron, that part is consistent with most Transformers media over the last 20 years, well, excluding the Gladiator part. And the Quintesson part being similar to how it was told in the aligned continuity, which itself was an expansion on how G1 depicted them. I'm not particularly excited for Bumblebee in this film. Don't get me wrong, I like Bumblebee as a character in the other forms of Transformers media, but the trailers make him out to be pretty annoying. No offense to Keegan-Michael Key, but while I am glad that he isn't doing his Toad voice, I just don't like the voice that he's putting on for this character. Even the movie knows it. One of the trailers even has a scene where Shockwave says that he had to gag Bee because he wouldn't stop talking, even when he was unconscious. Now I wonder if this is supposed to be a setup for Bee losing his voice box. Which, I'm sorry I'm going to be blunt, but I honestly hope that happens. The other reason I don't like Bumblebee's inclusion in this film is because he's not traditionally a big player in Optimus Prime's origin story or the start of the Autobot-Decepticon war. It just feels like he was put in because, well, Hasbro, and he's one of their most popular characters. I mean, we just had a Transformers movie where Bumblebee was largely absent, so they could have just had him be a background character that gets set up to have a bigger role in a sequel. Some other minor points I want to make before I finish this section of the video. I wonder if Elita 1 is going to be called Ariel at any point in the film, like in G1. I would like that, but I have my doubts. There was a box set of figures released a year or two ago of Ariel and Dion, who I'm surprised isn't in Transformers 1, and she was renamed Uriel. Probably for legal reasons relating to a certain red-haired mermaid. No, not that one. So yeah, maybe Ariel has just become one of those retired Transformer names, kind of like Skyfire and Slag. But it's a load of beryllium baloney, I tell you. The Transformers Ariel predates the Disney character by a couple of years, and some of you already know how I feel about Disney. I like that the pre-upgrade form of Megatron has a black helmet like he did in some of the early Marvel comics, and in the second trailer, his fusion cannon is shaped in a way that reminded me of Shockwave's cannon from Fall of Cybertron. I'm surprised that this movie is getting away with Orion Pax almost flipping the bird to Dreadwing. I wonder where they got that idea from. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised since they're already using the word badass. The last thing I want to mention kind of relates to a video that I did last year, but worse. Producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura claims that Transformers 1 is set 3 billion years before the live-action movies. But if you think about it for more than 2 nanocycles, this is a bunch of cesium salami. Transformers 1 is not connected to any of the live-action movies, Bayformers, or otherwise. That would be like saying that the Chipmunk Adventure is set 20 years before the live-action Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. Even setting aside the animation and voices, there are already storyline inconsistencies. Like, if Alita 1 and her relationship to Optimus is as important as it is here, how does she become only a footnote of a character in Revenge of the Fallen? Speaking of Revenge of the Fallen, the Matrix of Leadership was introduced in that film as the key to unlock the Star Harvester. Optimus never had it before then, but he's going to get it in Transformers 1. And is Blue Jet Sentinel Prime ever going to invent space bridge technology and become Red Fire Truck Sentinel Prime? Even if you can come up with explanations to all of these, doing so would be so contrived that it wouldn't be making the films any better, it just exposes the lack of planning to make things consistent. Which it's not supposed to for TF1 because director Josh Cooley has said on Twitter explicitly that this is a new continuity. Essentially taking the Spider-Verse route of having a separate animated continuity running at the same time as the live-action one. And no one is meant to be confused. If you still are, that's on you. Speaking of Spider-Verse, I am so glad that this movie did not do anything fancy and try to make the visuals stylized unlike every animated movie these days. Seriously, studios, stop Spider-Versing this shit. Having stylized animation does not automatically make your movie good. Hi, editor Grandy Tamayas here. Just to be clear, I don't actually hate any of the animated movies that I showed posters for. In fact, if you know me well enough, I really enjoy Puss in Boots 2 and The Bad Guys. But the part I did say about animation not automatically making a movie good, that part I do still believe. And I was kind of just overacting and venting my frustration of the Spider-Verse movies and how they've started this trend that every animated movie seems to keep hopping onto nowadays. So yeah, sorry if I offended anyone, but I'm leaving in that rant bit anyway for, I guess, comedy. So yeah, I guess back to what little of the video is left. Okay, now that I've gotten everything off my chest that I can think of, I will be going into the film open-minded, and I will be back with my first thoughts. Okay, guys, I just got back from the theater, and all I have to say is, holy shit, the hype is real. Transformers 1 is just such an awesome movie. It is better than every single live-action Transformers movie, and yes, that includes Rise of the Beasts and Bumblebee. Is it better than the 1986 movie? It's, I guess, too early to say. But it is also better than a lot of other animated movies that have come out in the past couple of years. Like, in the previous section, I mentioned Spider-Verse. And between recording that section and when I watched the movie, I had heard a bunch of comparisons like, oh, this is the Spider-Verse of Transformers. And, well, yeah, I know I said I didn't hate the Spider-Verse movies, but I do think that they are massively overrated. So, from my perspective, it's not going to seem like a big deal or saying much if I say that Transformers 1 is better than the Spider-Verse movies. Both of them, yeah, it's better than Puss in Boots 2 as well, better than The Bad Guys, better than Ruby Gillman. Okay, as a movie, yes. As a movie, I think that Transformers 1 is better. And yeah, it is just so awesome. And it's amazing how many references there were. Like, there were so many blink and you'll miss them characters. And yeah, but it's still digestible for a lot of the people who are just getting into Transformers for the first time. I'll need to compile my thoughts and watch the movie again before I go into, like, the characters and the lore, because there's just so much to unpack. But yeah, stay tuned for that. That should be coming out probably within the next week or two. But yeah, that's really all I have to say for right now. Feel free to let me know if you've seen the movie, what you thought of it, but no spoilers, please. Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie yet, yeah, you can also, like, let me know, like, what are your expectations or whatnot. With all that said, I hope you enjoyed. Have a nice day, and thank you for your time.